going on, everybody? Peter Dewey with FanSided here, and today I am joined by a legend, Hall of Fame broadcaster, Ernie Johnson, on behalf of Buffalo Wild Wings. Ernie, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Peter, I am absolutely great. Hope you're doing the same, man.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I am. I'm really excited. Obviously, a great time in the sports calendar we have right now, especially with basketball. March Madness starting this week. We got the NBA playoffs coming up in a little bit. But for March Madness, we got two of, I think, the most intriguing NCAA tournaments between the men's and the women's we've had in a long time. A lot of parity on both sides. Is there anything specific you're really looking forward to with these two tournaments?
No, yeah, I mean, every year it's the same way. Just when you think it can't get any better, it does. Just when you think it can't get any more unpredictable, it does. Um, and because it's unpredictable, um, let me throw this out there to you because I have your well-being in mind.
Mhm.
Because you look to me like a guy who would enjoy like a trip to the Final Four next year, men's or women's. A guy who would enjoy a year's supply of wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. Those all sound enticing, correct?
Oh
So I
yeah.
would encourage you to get on beatthebuffalo.com, see if you can beat their Buffalo Jack, who made his picks and has a bracket out there. And if you beat him, then you're in the running for those things I already mentioned to you. Um, but I know as unpredictable as things are, I don't know if they're unpredictable enough for McNeese to win the whole thing. That's who Jack the Buffalo thinks is going to win it. And then on the women's side, he thinks Colorado, obviously a Buffalo picking the Buffaloes, will win on the women's side. Uh, totally disregarding Jack is like the unbeaten Gamecocks of South Carolina. You know, he's got Caitlin Clark winning one game. He's got Southern Cal, Juju Watkins getting knocked out on their first game, got Texas losing. So the door is wide open for guys just like you, Peter, to jump in there and qualify for the chance to go to the Final Four. So I hope you're in. Have I done a selling job with you on
I
that?
was, yeah, that was a fantastic pitch right there. I am intrigued. Yeah, that was great. Um, I gotta say though, Jack Pick and McNeese is obviously a dark horse team, a team I like, coached by
Yeah.
Will Wade. Is there any team
Yeah.
you think, a little dark horse in the men's tournament, that you think can make a run?
Keep your eye on Samford,
Ooh.
the Samford Bulldogs. Bucky McMillan's their coach. It's a high energy team, a team that likes to press, a team that's going to make you work. They got Kansas in their opener. Let's see how Kansas is health wise. You know,
Mhm.
they've gotten thumped their last couple of games because they haven't been totally healthy. So uh, I'm liking Samford. It's rare when a team jumps out at me and kind of in the week leading up and watching the champ week, and I'm kind of like, that team that team might do something. So I'm going to go with Samford. Also keep an eye on James Madison, and not in the dark horse realm, but I really like Iowa State too. Um, Unfortunately for the Cyclones, they are in the same region as UConn. Um, because if UConn is healthy, if they're trotting the same guys out there every night, I don't see them losing.
Okay. Okay. So would you say UConn's your pick, or do you have anybody? Is there somebody else you're choosing in your bracket?
No, I mean, I think ultimately UConn will be my champion. I don't fill mine out until late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, seeing in large part, how are injuries or guys' availability, that kind of thing. Um, but I think they'll be joined there by Kentucky. I think Kentucky will get by Houston. I think Tennessee will get there. Tennessee will get past Purdue. And my hang up really is in the other region. I just don't know if North Carolina is going to win that region. There's some dangerous teams out there, but um, by Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I'll have it in cement.
I like it. We're on the same wavelength because I did my preliminary bracket yesterday, and I
Oh,
had
you did
UConn,
your
Kentucky.
your
Yeah,
preliminary. Okay.
I'll probably go back in and make some changes, but I had UConn, Kentucky as my final to start. So we'll see if that holds
Yeah.
through the whole turn these next
Yeah.
couple days.
It'd
Um,
be wild. It'd be wild if they had the Kentucky Tennessee Final Four game. That would be
how would be?
that'd be some craziness. But yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that North Carolina's got, I mean, Michigan State out there, St. Mary's, Alabama, Baylor's out there, Arizona's out there. A lot of stuff can happen. But that's why we love
very
it, man. That's why we love the tournament.
exactly. Very tough region for sure. Going to more of the player specific, obviously on the women's side, we have, you mentioned a couple, Caitlin Clark, Juju Watkins, just absolute stars. Is there any players on either men's or women's side that you're really excited to watch this March?
Um, I think if you haven't watched Tennessee play and you haven't watched Dalton Connect, um, you're in for a treat. You know what? He reminds me a little bit of Rex Chapman. Uh, wears the number 3, can shoot the 3 ball, also has some bunnies, and so he reminds me a little bit of him. Um, but I just think I think Kentucky. When you look at Kentucky, they got a guy, Antonio Reeves, who you know could be in the running for the conference player of the year, but they also have the 6th man of the year. They got the freshman of the year there. Kentucky's got a really good team, and then let's see Zach Edey. Every time I watch Zach Edey play, I feel like I'm watching Gulliver's Travels. Like when the little guys are all throwing the ropes over the big giant, and trying to keep them down. But that's what it's like when you watch Zach play. Very interested to see what they do. Very interested to see the effect of losing to FDU last year in their opener. A 16-1. Really want to see if they've got that Virginia in them, like
Mhm.
when Virginia lost to UMBC, and everybody's, oh, the world is, and then the next year they came back and said, okay, we're going to win the whole thing, and they did. Let's see if Purdue's able to do that. I don't know. I have Tennessee getting out of that region.
I you mentioned Dalton Connect, who's a guy we'll probably see in the NBA next year. You'll probably be covering him on Inside the NBA at some point. I gotta ask, do you do a bracket with the Inside the NBA guys? Do you guys have a little competition going?
You know what? Not really individually with the guys. I think a lot of times our social team has us all put a bracket in, and then we can kind of compare. Um, but I avoid going head to head with our guys at this time because look, my Georgia Bulldogs are in a little bit of a downtime. They're not in the tournament again, and so if I start chirping, then I get Kenny talking about North Carolina and Chuck talking about Auburn. And that's one thing about Jack's bracket too. And I appreciate this about Jack. He had Yale beating Auburn, and if that
Oh,
happens, Peter, if that happens, and we're on the air in New York, that will carry the day. That will
oh yeah.
that will be a theme. That will be a theme that goes on the entire day. If Chuck has to live down Auburn getting beat by the smart guys, wouldn't that be something to see?
Oh, that would be fantastic. It would be great television. I gotta ask you one more before we wrap it up, Ernie. I gotta ask
Sure.
your all-time favorite Inside the NBA moment. Is there anyone that comes to mind? I have a few in my mind, but I want to know what yours is.
One of them obviously is when Kenny tried to replicate Kobe jumping over the Aston Martin, and we rigged it so that he was actually hit by the car. It was actually a blow up doll. They get hit by the car, but it looked like it was Kenny. Another was locking Chuck out of the studio at halftime one time because we called it the Champions Club, and you had to have a ring to get in. Um, so those are two of my favorites, but there are way too many to mention.
Definitely. Ernie, thank you so much for joining me. This was a blast. I'm really excited for your partnership, obviously, with Buffalo Wild Wings, excited for March Madness, and hope that our Kentucky UConn pick, hope that comes through.
Hey, great minds, Peter. Great
Great
minds. That's all I
minds.
can say.